Hello and welcome to Deep Sea. This is the channel for experimental or cutting-edge cartomancy and astrology. Today we are going to talk about illustrated playing cards and how you can actually read them, because I think there's a specific way of reading cards that is suitable for illustrated playing cards. What you see here is of course a bit freaky. It's you could also say it's arty. I have here the back of the cards. See, art back. That says something about where it comes from. This is a deck of cards that has been made by various artists. I really like that take on playing cards. And that's just one genre in the genre of illustrated playing cards. I mean, you have, of course, you have nude ladies, but you also have, cars, nature, countries, you name it. There's all kinds of illustrated playing cards. And my personal mentality, my way of looking at it is that I say I will read it all. It doesn't matter to me, because also because I'm a visual person, I think, and there's also a method for this. I don't know if you know this book, but let me just say it is my favorite book on reading the tarot, written by Yoav Ben-Dov. And in this book, Mr. Ben-Dov explains a way of reading cards, and he calls this method, this approach, he calls it the open reading style. And this open reading style is very suitable for Marseille, but in my opinion, you can also use it for, let's say, more frivolous illustrated playing cards and try to find meaning in them. And I just showed you some more examples of this deck, so maybe now you can see what is going on here. I have to say I just put these cards on the table without any questions, so don't think that this is a creepy answer to some kind of question. But this unstructured way of looking is very visual. For instance, what you see here is a nasty looking corpse that has kind of greenish, really nasty. And then we have someone who looks like cousin It from the Addams Family, but with some leaves. And we have a very abstract, like a modern painting. And you might wonder, what is going on here? Well, what I see here, using the ideas of the open reading, I see the first thing that I notice is that there is a continuity in color. And on the other hand, I see this is creepy, this is less creepy, and this is abstract. So a first idea could be that this is a bad nightmare. This is like a not so bad part of the nightmare, or even waking up, getting out of the water, as not being underwater in the deep sea of subconsciousness. And then finally the dissolving of a bad dream. It could be something like that, it could be anything. But I'm just trying to give you an idea here of how you do an open reading and notice the visual things. Like, for example, these corners. You see this also here, and there are many ways to look at this. I'm going to explain it a little bit, this open reading style, but first I want to show you just some examples of decks that I personally like and that I use for this open reading style. Playing arts is probably my favorite project when it comes to arty illustrated playing cards. I have three collections here, but there's more. Number 0, future cards. They have all kinds of stuff, and you should check their website because they keep going with new ideas, and also some of the projects are sold out. So if you want to grab something, be quick. Here are just some examples of cards, and if you've followed me on Twitter, looking at my Bitcoin predictions, then you would remember that, for example, this card was usually not good when it came to the price of Bitcoin. This one was a bit better. This one was sometimes good, sometimes bad. Let's just throw in some more cards, just to give you an idea. I really like this. I mean, if you have a king like this, come on. If you have a king like this, I mean, that really shows that you honor the tradition, but you also look further. And these types of designs you find in this playing arts collection a lot. And I love it. I think it's very good. It's not the only one in its kind. There's also a group of people who call themselves Art of Play. They also make lovely decks of cards. This one is a bit of a... This one is called the Ultimate Deck. Well, I don't think it's the Ultimate Deck, but that's what it's called anyway. And these cards, they're also all very, very interesting. And I put the link to Art of Play in the description so you can see it for yourself. Something else that they also have is the theme of optical illusions. Just some examples for you. Here's one of those optical illusions. Here's another one. And another one. And then in the same deck I have some more Arty cards. Here's that Ultimate Deck. Another Ultimate Deck. And what you may notice is that all these cards, I mean, I pull them from one big stack. And that's how I use them. I like to mix different decks of cards and then work with that. But why I can do that is because if you look at the back, they all have the same size, and that is the poker size. Most of you will know what poker size is. But actually there are two kinds of sizes, and I have a different deck here. This is from the 1970s. It's from Belgium. And this is also Arty. This is also made by a group of visual artists who decided to make a deck of cards. But this size is different. This is the bridge size. So if you compare that, let's see, put them together. Here we have bridge size versus poker size. Bridge size is on top and poker size is on the bottom. And the fact that you have these two standard sizes, that is what allows you to mix up different kinds of decks. So you might say, well, I found a nice deck, but half of the cards I like and half of the cards I really don't like. For example, you might like this one, but you don't like this one. Well, you can just throw it out. And because these cards all have the same physical size, you can all combine them into one deck, and that is what I usually do. So I have decks that are poker size and I have decks that are bridge size. Here is that whole stack of cards that has the optical illusions and the Art of Play cards, so to speak. And right now I will just ask this deck to introduce itself to us. I don't speak Spanish. But right. I think this is saying this creature here is looking a bit. It's sweating, and it's not looking very happy, as you can see. But this one, on the other hand, is looking quite happy. So that is a first strong indication. When you're doing an open reading, we have these two, and in the middle this one. So I would probably say this is saying that well, I might seem to be a very tough deck to read. Maybe you will get a headache every now and then, because this of course gives you a headache. But if you persevere, you will get some nice results and a smile on your face. That's more or less what I get from this introduction by the cards. Here's another popular one, the movie cards. Of course, Star Wars, 007, Big Lebowski, some vintage stuff, and Indiana Jones. And these are all poker-sized cards, so what I did again, it's my crazy hobby, is to make a big stack of them. But of course you don't have to do that. You can use 50, 60, 100 cards, mix them, match them, mix them up however you want to. And in the end you will get some really nice visual clues that you won't get in any other way. Now here we go. I mean, this sword and this sword, it's in this hand. There's immediately something going on there, and I can just go on. Whoops. Also some more visual illusions there, optical illusions. And actually, this is quite funny, I have to be honest. I mean, optical illusion, see that? Optical illusion over here, and the dude with his sunglasses not straight on his face. So there's another very subtle way of the cards to introduce themselves and to say we can be coherent in any way you want to be. Here are some more examples of types of cards that I find useful for this open reading style. One category is animals. I think animals almost speak for themselves, and yeah, well, actually the same thing is true if you look at great works of art. Like here, Leonardo, it could be Rembrandt, it could be any great artist. They come up with very, very good, strong images, and usually with people on them. And that is the same thing is true for the tarot. That always also has people on it. And in the open reading, you look at body language. You look at the line of sight. What is this eye looking at? It's looking at, in this picture, it's looking at this hand. You see? Line of sight. And are people looking at each other, or are they avoiding each other? That type of body language is all a part of the open reading style. And you get a very good example of that when you use classic works of art, unless it is of course some landscape. But you can you can leave out the landscapes if you cannot work with them. You just don't use them. That's totally up to you. And then this is more the propaganda type of style, the advertisement. It's all useful. And well, I have to be honest with these animal cards. They are not that great for putting 3 cards next to each other, because that usually that doesn't work. But if you can imagine doing a reading and at a certain moment just drawing one animal that will symbolize a quality of this animal or something else that's in this picture. So What is this? A yellow-bellied marmot. Well, I seem to remember that yellow belly has something to do with people who are not very brave. It's American, not slang. Is it slang? It's an American type of speech. There you go. It's saying something. Here's one last category that I want to show you, and it's completely different because this is not about visual thing. This is about words, and so it is not really. This is not something you use for open readings. But I just wanted to show these decks because I use them a little bit in a similar way during a reading, similar to how I explained I use the animals. These are more or less motivational quotes or something like that, and Bruce Lee also had a lot of those. And yeah, this deck is a combination of these two. And well, let me just ask the cards to introduce themselves. Uh-oh. Combine the unexpected. No, that's really perfect. That's really what this this whole video is all about. Combining the unexpected. That's perfect. And I'll show you one more just for fun. The inevitable Star Wars. They also have that's movie quotes. Obi-Wan has taught you well. Well, I'm not. That's a compliment. Thank you, cards. What I want to do now is talk a little bit more about this so-called open reading style. And like I said in the beginning, this book is probably my favorite book on tarot. And it is the book that discusses this open reading style. It is not completely unlike the style of Camellia Elias, who is one of my favorite readers as well. But it's not quite the same. Yoav Ben-Dov did not only write this great book, he also designed a deck of cards. So what I'm going to do is I'll read a few quotes from this book, and then I'll also use his deck to give some examples of what he is talking about. And then in the last chapter of this video we will try to do the same open reading style but using illustrated cards. First, a tarot card does not have a fixed meaning that can be learned in advance. The meaning emerges from what we can see in the card during the reading. So this is saying that you cannot have, for example, a card like the Justice card in the Major Arcana and say, well, Justice is always about this and this and that. No, you cannot do that. Every time you look at cards, tarot cards in this case, you look at them in an unstructured way, and you don't decide beforehand what the meaning of the cards is. Second, the function of each position in a spread is also not fixed. Rather, it depends on the combination of cards that actually appear. So it's not necessarily order that is chronological or any other type of fixed order. You look at the cards and then you decide, oh, this must be the correct order to read them, or this is the composition of the three cards as they lay next to each other. And third, we don't start by interpreting each card separately. Instead, we first try to see the whole picture that the cards form together. And again, like I just said, the reason why you do this is, for example, to decide what the order of the cards is that is implied. Is it chronological or not? Is it symmetrical or not? The meaning of a card cannot be fixed once and for all. Rather, the visual appearance of a card depends on the whole context of the reading. Several factors contribute to this difference in visual impression. And now he's going to list these factors that make you look at the cards fresh every time again. Why is that? Well, there are a few reasons. First, a card looks different when other cards are placed beside it, because you will notice like visual rhymes, or you will notice contrasts. Second, the querent's presence and query have an emotional effect on us. That is very important. Yoav Ben-Dov would really stress the importance of the setting of reading, and say things like everything that happens during a reading is important. If something falls down, some light begins to flicker, whatever strange stuff happens, it's all part of the reading. And that's why he also emphasizes that because of the unique atmosphere of each reading, the cards also take on a bit of a different meaning. And then number 3, he also almost quotes Heraclitus in saying that you cannot step into the same river twice. We are not the same with each reading, and in the same way these meanings are also not fixed. So Ben-Dov is really a very fluid thinker in that sense. Then the open 3-card spread, that is what I use all the time. What you see me doing here all the time is just putting 3 cards next to each other. So this is an example of an open 3-card spread. Now, and what does Ben-Dov say? It only tells us how many cards to draw and how to arrange them on the table. Instead of using predefined functions in the open reading, we look at the cards and try to understand the role of each one in relation to the full spread. So what he's saying is, well, you can do an open 3-card reading, but the only rule is that you have 3 cards lying next to each other, and they are not, for example, like this or like this or like this. No, they are like this. That's the only rule that he agrees upon. And then body language is also a really important part of the open reading style, and also absolutely a foundation of how I read in general. So what you see here, for example, is 2 little ones looking at each other, 2 little ones looking at each other, and then there are 3. You see a face here in the upper part of the card, a face here in the upper part of the card, and a face here in the upper part of the card. And well, there's more going on. But okay, body language. We note whether the figures are making eye contact or avoiding each other's gaze. We try to figure out what their posture and body language express. We try to feel their emotional attitude towards each other. And if you look at that, you immediately notice that these two and these two, that there are similarities there. And depending on the question, that will get you into the story that the cards are telling. And then final point, continuity, changes and disconnection. Often we can see shapes or surfaces that continue from one card to another. In other cases, we can see cards that are disconnected from each other. This way we can get a feeling about the continuity or break between cards. And Ben-Dov talks about continuity, and in that case he would talk, for example, about, you see this black line here, and that turns into something blue here. That is the kind of, actually a better example is this continuity, this radiation here and here. That is more a kind of a continuity. But I want to add one more thing to this mix. I also want to add transformation, because that is also very important. I tend to look if there's not very clearly a symmetrical composition in the 3 cards as a whole, I tend to look at transformations going from left to right. And Ben-Dov also actually says something about that. He calls it time and timeline. But personally, I don't necessarily think of it as time in the sense of what happens before and what happens after, but I think of it in terms of more like transformation, and that could also be a transformation of an idea. So in a single card, a figure walking, looking or pointing to the right is oriented toward the future, while a figure looking to the left of the card is referring to the past. An example here would be the face of this man in the middle who is looking to the left, and in that sense the person he is looking at might be his past, and the person he is not looking at might be his future. Right now I want to ask the cards of Yoav Ben-Dov what they think or feel about the difference between the fixed type of reading style and the more fluid open type of reading style. So let's see what the cards have to say. Well, I like this. We have the fluidity here with temperance, mixing up two liquids, and I think the fluidity here is the key thing. And watch that line of sight. She's looking. She's being very fluid here, and she's looking at a person who is fixed. He cannot move. He can think, he can be illuminated and all that. That's classic meanings for the hanged man, but he's fixed, and she's laughing at him, saying, look how fluid I am, and look how fixed you are. And that's funny, actually. I think it's it's really funny. And well, it ends with I think I would say that this is about insight. Waking up to maybe being shaken by that sound that this instrument makes, being shaken into awakening and seeing things in a new way. How about that? Well, I think that's good enough for now. What you are looking at right now is maybe it's a bit difficult. I probably should introduce it step by step. First of all, what are these cards? This is the dude from The Big Lebowski. He's staring at a bowling ball, really looking at it. It's a very clear line of sight there. This is important. And then this person is a character in a James Bond movie, and what he's holding is an egg-shaped valuable object. But I want you to look at it. It has an egg shape, but also watch the surface of the egg. Now, what is happening here is something that would never happen, or at least not as obviously in when you use tarot cards, because tarot cards have their fixed visual. Well, up to a certain point, they are quite fixed in a visual sense. And when you start using funny stuff like this visual illusion or movie cards or whatever cards you want to use, you actually give the cards a license to be more creative and to play with all kinds of new combinations of images. And what we have here, I specifically asked the cards to give me an example of visual rhyme. So what do they give me? They give me this. This is all about the cube. I mean, there's nothing else but the cube with the funny surface. This is only about a bowling ball. I mean, his gaze is fixed on it. And then this is obviously about that funny egg. But the surface of the egg is what makes it all click. If you look at it and you compare it to this surface, I mean, it's 1 + 1 = 2. It's that simple, really, and it's a visual rhyme, nothing else. I'm not talking about meaning here. I'm talking about the capacity that the cards have to you know, almost like analyze every card in a deck and scan every surface and use every form, every shape that is in the deck to you know, create any type of story that they want almost. And in this case, I simply asked, give me a nice example of visual rhyme, and this is what they come up with. And personally speaking, I think it's quite spectacular. Again, it doesn't mean anything in this context, but it shows the versatility of cards. This is becoming my favorite visual trick for this series. I was just showing you the deck that I'm using. Casino Royale, 007, some naughty pictures, Charlie Chaplin, Star Wars, and also a little bit of visual optical illusions. And I want to show you a final spread, and this one, it's something you could say I prepared. I didn't really prepare it. I was almost shocked by it because it happened spontaneously, but it happened 2 weeks ago when I was thinking about this video that you're looking at right now. I was thinking about the concept, and I had this thought. I was thinking about Camellia Elias, to be precise. And Camellia Elias is also someone who likes this open reading style of Yoav Ben-Dov. But she gives it her own flavor. And her flavor is martial arts inspired and Zen inspired, and also inspired by her background, Romanian. And she talks about reading cards like the devil. And that's a little bit different from Yoav Ben-Dov, but there are also a lot of similarities there. And I was thinking, Zen, yeah, that's nice. It's a nice way of thinking about reading the cards in an open reading, because Zen is spontaneous, definitely. But then I thought some more, and you might think this is spiritual babble, but anyway, personally, I'm more into Taoism. If you know it, it's a Chinese version of Eastern spirituality, where the Tao is always presented in these liquid metaphors of water flowing and so on. And so I asked these cards, show me the Tao. And if you know just a little bit about Taoism, you will know that this is impossible, because, like they say in the Tao Te Ching, the Tao that you talk about is not the real Tao. You cannot point to it, you cannot hold it. In other words, any type of conceptualization of the Tao will go wrong, because it is beyond concepts. That is more or less non-duality in a nutshell. And so I asked these cards, tell me, what is the Tao? And I got this answer that really blew me away. Because if you look at this one, this is another one of my beloved optical illusion cards. You see a face in nature, and to me this is the perfect way to reference these Chinese landscapes with that are maybe about a fisherman or something, and you look at the picture and you see a whole lot of nature, and you see one tiny little fisherman. You know, that's the way the Chinese express the relation between man and nature. And what you see here is you see this Tao, which is really a landscape, which is also an illusion or Maya, and you see this brave hero, which is 007. He's looking at it and he's understanding it. And you see these other people who are really scared, because you see a skull here, you see a knife. go. So here is, you could say, a fear of death. And of course, our hero 007, he is beyond that. He's beyond fear of death, and he can look the hero of the plot of this spread can look the Tao in its eyes and not really be moved by it, but just look at it without fear, you know, beyond conceptualization and also even beyond emotion. He's just staring at it and more or less getting it. And these people are clearly not getting it. So that was to me, you know, this card is more or less signifying what the classic image of the Tao is, and this hero figure is more or less getting it, and these not so heroic people are clueless. That's how these cards explain to me what the Tao is, and I have to say I really like this one. Okay, that's enough. I'm not sure, but I think I'm learning how to make shorter videos. And on that note, the next video will be about a classic system for a change. I will go into the Grand Tableau of the Lenormand system, and I'll try to teach you the simplest way that I could think of to read a Grand Tableau, which is 36 cards. So it's quite a spread. I don't know, it's not going to fit here, so I'll have to put it I have to visualize it some other way, but never mind. In about a month or so, I hope to see you back. Bye bye.